Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Yes, welcome back, one and all.
Indeed.
So I want to start out by first thanking everybody for being part of this family and, just sharing the love, sharing this roller coaster ride experience with us. I want to thank our patrons, and friends, and family over at Ko-Fi, everybody at Medicinal Foods, and everybody that just has been partaking this journey with us.
Yes, we are very grateful for the support because it is, in this day and age, really difficult to get the underlying truth out of what's really going on. So you guys help us continue to be able to do this. Thank you.
Absolutely. And when we look at this is an article that's referenced through Sign of the Times, which Sign of the Times, if you haven't checked it out, check them out. Because they cover earth changes, geopolitical, hidden history, the medical side of things. It's a good little website for interesting info from so many different diverse types of topics that really everybody that's watching us on a regular basis is pretty interested in. 45% of Americans are struggling. It almost feels like it might be more than that with everything that's going on, and the soaring inflation being one of those things. Another trip to the store just to get one particular item and, just make my rounds. There's certain things I check. And what I'm seeing is that the things that have been missing, they just aren't getting restocked. But what they're doing is the things that they have, they just spread them out into a bigger area.
Mm-hmm.
So this supply chain nightmare is most definitely still underway and still growing.
It is. So we really got to just stay prepared and stay ready and just keep an eye on things.
Yeah, of the households earning less than $40,000, over a quarter describe the financial impact as severe, and they cannot maintain the same standard of living at the moment. We have friends that have been visiting us, and I was just thinking about what I'm cooking for dinner and the fact that, well, it's because friends are over. The cost of it is quite a bit more than what I would do now on a regular basis, because I would alter in like what we had yesterday. Yesterday I made a batch of vegetarian chili.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just stuff we have around the house that we buy in bulk. Peppers that are growing in our greenhouse, pluck those off. We have tomatoes in there too. So, the cost of that was really minimal. Now, the cost of tonight's dinner is going to be much more expensive. And moving forward, it might be one of those once a week dinners,
right,
as we get deeper into this cycle. What really gets me, though, is the fact that the split between the haves and the haves not, it's just gotten so dramatic, so in our faces. It's just ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous. And when we look at how people are truly doing, as you see, U.S. mental health rating remains below pre-pandemic level. In fact, it's at like a low point for over 20 years. It's sad. Life expectancy has gone down 3 years in a row now in the U.S. And last year was a drop off a cliff. What will this year's numbers look like? Seriously, as things get more expensive, people are overall less healthy. They have less ability to be socially mobile, so to speak. And in general, people are suffering. These are not easy times, and that's just an obvious statement.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's very difficult.
Not obvious. I mean, it's an obvious statement for most of us, but there is a class of people that these are the best of times for.
Oh, well, they certainly are having a great time, and they're not real worried about us. They're doing a very good job about worrying about themselves and making sure they're in really good shape.
So, there is this script out there, and they know what is in store for the next act in this grand play that we find ourselves on. So it's kind of unfair when they know exactly what's coming. Of course, many of us are watching everything. We have a pretty good idea, but then again, we're not the actors in the play, so to speak, that know the lines. They know, what is planned. We're still kind of we're more in the audience watching, even though we might have an inkling of what's coming next, right? CEOs and corporate insiders are selling their stock at a far faster rate than we have ever seen before. Why? What do they know? Well, they know the Great Reset's coming. Maybe they know the Great Conflagration, the third great global conflagration since 1914, is perhaps knocking on our door as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they know what's going to collapse. We have seen that there are amazing, amazing stock traders that are in our political system. They seem to just pick the right horse to win every day, like NP. Nancy P over there, she's got an amazing track record.
Mm-hmm.
But, there again, she's a career politician, the insider's insider. It's not too much different from ancient Rome when the senators held so much power in Roman society. And it was like a birthright. The same people came in, the power, the same bloodlines, the same families. It's still like that to this day. And you have the IMF and all these alphabet soups. To me, they give my stomach the churning sensation, because I don't think that they really are out there for the benefit of the 99.9%. Mm-hmm. It feels like these alphabet soup entities like the IMF, really all they are is all about the E-lights.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yep.
So to speak, as we're trying to do our little jargon. Mm-hmm. So warning of economic collapse, yes, it's coming. We know it's coming. You guys know. But, still there's so many of the masses that really don't. There's a lot of people out there that really think, well, things might go back to normal tomorrow. But, there won't be a return to what we've been at. Things always progress along a certain line. They seem to get more and more extreme. That divide seems to get wider and wider. So much for trickle-down economics from the Reagan era. Yeah, the trickle that comes down, by the time it gets to us, it's evaporated, so to speak. And you see this out of South Front. South Front is an independent little site that watches military movement. But here they're talking about no meat, no shower, no children, new eco-friendly,
wow,
concentration, CAMPS. Look at all those barcodes. Will there be one on people's foreheads soon? Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. And some would run off to go get it. And you got to kind of question, where's your head?
Mm-hmm. You really do.
Where's your head? What are people thinking? So many people still sleepwalking off the end of a cliff. Today, the global society is facing a new reality that is some way artificially imposed on our daily lives. Yeah, most definitely. As we talked about the artificial flavoring, all about us, tons of it. There's so much artificial flavoring. How do we even know what natural is anymore?
Mm-hmm. We don't. We barely do. And if you can find natural health books, that were written before the world wars, then you can get some really accurate information about health and about herbology. But everything to naturally cure whatever you need has been altered, most all of it.
I think of Star Wars as we've shared, when the reality comes out that, and everybody knows that there's all sorts of ETs amongst us right now, and beings that have been living on this planet. We can't really call them ETs because they're no more ETs than us, because they've been on the planet for a long time. They've just been hidden from us, living inside the Earth, living under the oceans, or living up in an orbit. That's going to be part of the reality. But when you look to Star Wars, when you hear them talk about a monetary system, they talk about credits. How many credits is it going to cost me? And now we can see what's coming next. It's going to be all about carbon. We're a carbon-based life form. You're going to get so much allotment for carbon credits. Mm-hmm. And some of the things that the Swiss financial conglomerate Credit Suisse has recently concluded, each person should follow the following restrictions in order not to exceed the norm of carbon dioxide emissions. So taking a shower not more than 6 times a week for 4 minutes. You get to shower 24 minutes a week. That's it. What? I work so hard to get this house, even if it's not mine. We bought this house because it has a great shower. It's got one of those inline water heaters. It never runs out of hot water, or whatever the case is. And you're going to be told that all you could do is 6 showers, 4 minutes. That's your allotment. Tough. Don't flush that toilet more than twice a day.
Yeah, don't you dare.
I don't care how much chili you've eaten.
Oh, gross. Here we go.
It doesn't matter.
Do not flush more than twice a day.
2 times a day is your max.
Yep.
And then we get into eating 100 grams of chicken twice a week, 25 grams of cheese once a week, buy only 2 pairs of jeans and 3 shirts per year. By the way, you'll end up actually renting those. You won't actually own anything.
Yes.
Go to the gym 3 times a week for 30 minutes, watching TV or use the internet not more than 2 hours a day. These are a short list of the advices that they're going to expect us to follow. Whoa. Whatever happened to personal freedoms here? The thing is, when we look at the billionaire class, which has grown in net wealth far, far faster than they ever did before since the plague upon the land. I was going to use a different word. And this is, again, talking about what they're saying here. This is how they intend to get us to be happy, because you're going to own nothing and you're going to be happy about it. You're just going to rent everything, and it's all carbon credits. Those places, when I see those places like rent-a centers, I think they make me depressed. They make me sad, because if somebody's going to go rent a TV and end up paying 10 times more than it actually cost, in maybe a 18-month period, the thing that's wrong with this world is the middlemen. It's the system where people abusively get wealthy off of other people. There's no heart there.
No, there's not. It's very kind of reptilian-like. It's like there is no heart. There's no compassion. There's no consideration for other life. There's only consideration and room for their own decision, what's best for them.
It's absolutely predatorial.
Mm-hmm.
Predatorial. And speaking of predators, here you go. Look at those smiles as we look at some of the elite, the G7, and their meeting in Cornwall. And, how do these people live with themselves? They must rationalize, right? They got to rationalize. They know the bigger plan. They're not serving the people. They're serving themselves and their masters. And this is Klaus over at the WEC. Now, he has disclosed that his net worth is a paltry, 1 point something million. But yes, they own these. The corporations hide the wealth of the elite. So we could even have the Red Shields, the ROTHS childs, saying, "Oh, well, we're not anywhere as close to the wealth of a Bezos or, somebody along the, Gil Bates lines, or, these other people, Elon Musk." But the reality is they really control far greater power.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes. How much money do you really need? Really? And again, need more? Okay, we'll add a couple digits. You're good. Don't worry. You're in the club. If you're in the club, you don't got to worry about anything. It doesn't really matter what your bank sheet says, because ultimately it's kind of a bottomless pit. Whatever you need, you'll get. They will take care of you. You will never want for anything. And that's actually the words they used to try to tempt me back in 2017. You will never want for anything.
Mm-hmm.
And, this is exactly what goes on. And there are, unfortunately, many people that say, okay, then they jump right on board. So are they going to be getting their carbon credits? Is Klaus Schwab going to have his, carbon credits? He's going to have to follow the same thing as, Joe Smith, who's a carpenter in Alabama, Or maybe, you know, Donna Eden over in Michigan that's a housewife. Is she going to have the same carbon credits as Obama, or, you know, one of the Clintons, or, you know, one of the Bush family, or Macron, or any of these guys? Do you think that's going to happen? Who's going to go measure their food? Who's going to say, oh, no, you're over your 100 grams of chicken for the week, put that back?
Mm-hmm.
Seriously. And when you look at leadership and governance, I'd say the WEC, and we just go down the line. Look at this guy right here, Lawrence D. Fink, Chairman, Chief Executive Officer of BlackRock. Oh, you mean that's the BlackRock that owns such a high percentage of the big FARMA industry, including that that company that's been in the news so much that starts with a P and then has an F behind it? If you know what I mean, we're talking about a company that's made billions since we've had this plague upon the land. And by the way, is that same BlackRock that is taking all the proceeds that they're making and reinvesting it by buying up all the land, all these homes all over the place in massive numbers that they're then going to refurbish and rent out at massive prices and massive profit? So we could see how this works. We could really see how this works. You know, the World Economic Forum, that, you know, is one of the ones, and by the way, you see Al Gore down in there too. Yeah, they're one of the ones pushing this whole concept, and yet they're also the ones that are buying up and making massive profits on, you know, they're buying up all the land and making massive profits because of what's, you know, been the #1 news topic since December 2019.
Yeah, I mean that's all pretty much. That's all you need to say. That's all there is to it, and you can believe it or not believe it, and it's kind of our decision if we want to stay in the system and, you know, continue to feed these entities, or are we going to try to work together and get out?
You know, when you look at it and you look at what could be done and what is done, truly, 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 it's a travesty. And, you know, I don't think they should be smiling. They should be, you know, begging our forgiveness for what they've done. Because what they're doing is, you know, they're pulling off a massive CONJOB on humanity. And it's just utterly sad and pitiful. Really, truly it is. Because it shows, you know, the shallowness and the lack of compassion for humanity and the planet in general. And checking out some news, you see Russia sending missiles. And this is over by the Kuril Islands, which at one point in time, especially the 4 most southern ones, they were controlled by Japan, but Japan lost them in World War II, and Russia now controls them. So over here you see they have deployed coastal defense missile systems. They actually have a pretty big range, and literally could kind of stop a lot of traffic, so to speak, all throughout the Sea of Japan over there. This is a big step up. There's tons of step ups, and like as we've said, there are those in the highest levels of the militaries of, say, Russia or the United States or China or the UK or France, you know, that don't understand the biggest picture and the fact that, you know, the chessboard's controlled really by the same entities at the very, very top. Or if we want to look at it, do you guys remember Risk? You remember that game, Risk? Or Stratego? But let's think Risk, where you put your armies in different spots and you battle it out, try to conquer the world. Well, you know, basically it's a game where it's almost like one person is playing themselves. Or we could say one group of persons. And these are the same beings we were just talking about in so many ways. Tremendous profits that come about through WAR fair.
Mm-hmm.
and Russia and China poised to forge an even greater alliance. Transition is underway from close cooperation between the two to coordination and active pooling of resources. Well, Russia is the biggest country in the world. China has the most amount of people. Together, that's a powerful alliance, and that alliance is getting stronger every day. So Austria's chancellor, chosen as predecessor, quits after 2 months. 2 months, okay, he's in. Hey, congrats, he's out. What happened? Austria has been the center point of a lot of PROTESTSs. Big time, big time, big time. And really what we need to see here is true change instead of, replacing one puppet with another. Mm-hmm. That's when we're going to really see. Now, we are making progress, though. And again, I know it might not seem like it. We were talking to one family member today saying that we are making progress. And I mean, the whole planet. People are waking up. They're waking up more and more and more. And they are voicing their opinions, which is making the plans to achieve these agendas, like the one that is slated for 2030, it's making it harder for them to keep to schedule, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, all of that. With all of that said, we just have to keep on the same track.
And here we see Ukraine announces when they expect the invasion to take place, and it's interesting too to see that it seems like more and more people out there in public do think it's kind of inevitable now. It feels like there's that sense of inevitability out there as far as the third conflagration. Mm-hmm. But many, as we were saying before, are pointing to after the Olympics in that time period as well. And of course, you have the Kremlin consistently denying that they're planning to invade the Ukraine. However, on Thursday, Russian President Vladimir Putin's press secretary described the probability of hostilities as still high. And here we also have the Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs, Victoria Nuland, warned that Moscow would see unprecedented sanctions if it uses the military against the Ukraine. Again, we have to keep putting out the positive vibes, and if we could get more people to recognize exactly how the system works, so they wouldn't put themselves in a position to actually support that which is putting them down. Mm-hmm. Why support that which is, the force that's oppressing in the first place? NATO member says American troops won't be sent to the Russian border. Very, very, very ominous, but at the same time, not unexpected. U.S. produces first upgraded NUKE gravity bomb. This is of that bunker busting type. And we've talked about these before. And we've also told you guys that we've got from the Galactics, they won't let a grand conflagration of that type take place. That's overstepping the lines. It does actually tear time-space continuum and affects beings in other densities. Now, what's interesting is this is exactly what number 45 did. 45 got out of treaties that limited how small these things could be. Not how big, how small. And that's an interesting point, because now they're manufacturing them so that they could be basically like 1/50th the size of the two that were used over on Japan, when we're talking about those tragedies that were unleashed back in 1945. So the newest version of these, which they're making 480 of them, so they are mass producing them, it's going to have a variable yield ranging from 0.3 to 50 kilotons. It's flexible. Now, when you look at the first one ever used, 15 kilotons. So to me, it's obvious what they're doing. They're trying to see what they could get away with that there won't be any G-fed interference with.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree?
Oh, yeah.
Any other thoughts on that or anything we've covered so far?
No. I mean, everything is just as you said. It's all true. It's all right out there.
And we see U.S. reportedly plans Javelin missile delivery to the Ukraine, and it reneges on surface-to-air missiles. You know, again, the arming is just going on and on. New Norwegian government to restrict NATO traffic near Russia. What we really need is some truly new government to have a totally different perspective of, you know, hey, let's actually try to do something positive for a change instead of the illusion of something positive that doesn't do anything but consistently consolidates power. And here we see a robot shocks how close it is to human, as you know, all this is just being made to be acceptable. You know, if you have heart problems, don't worry. You know, we can replace hearts, we can replace kidneys, we can replace anything you need in the future. But at what expense? At what expense is the big question. And you know, it is getting uncanny. Now, one thing that's really curious and interesting that we got when we were just getting information last night from the guides and early this morning was that what you're seeing right now, when you're seeing, we had brought up the question that the U.S. military, and again, not everybody's really in the know, even those who are at the highest echelons with their security clearances don't really know, for instance, you know, that there's for sure, perhaps, extraterrestrials, interdimensionals. They might have their feelings, their thoughts, their suspicions. But even with, you know, top secret security clearances, there are those that don't really know for sure. But you know, what we have gotten is that what you're seeing with China and Russia and their technology that's coming out, and it's going, you know, farther and farther and faster. It's because it's direct ET technology.
Mm-hmm.
And we've also gotten, you know, that the transition from 3D to 4D is very close for some. And not everybody's going to transition at the same time, though, as far as it's an individual thing. But keep in mind, again, as we've shared with you guys, Nibiru, for instance, is a 4D planet. That's why, you know, people haven't really been able to confirm its existence, but it is getting closer. We are coming into the same zone where it will, at some point in time, appear to be very, very physical. And it'll be just there as, you know, part of our solar system, so to speak. And it's not the only one. There are many other planets that exist just slightly higher density than we are, but we're moving up into that frame where, you know, they're going to become very tangible to us. And so while the GG that we've shared, you know, they are very much 3D beings. They are as flesh and blood as you and I. The Anunnaki, we are just a notch above. They're in that fourth density. So they will, at some point in time, become very tangible to us once again. And many have wondered, where did the ancient gods go? Because when you read the mythologies, where were the gods? Well, you know, if they were in town, they were staying in their temple, getting the first of everything. They're getting the best food. They're getting the best wine. They're getting everything, including, you know, some things that we won't go into. And then they might not be there. They might be off. They might be off planet. They might be flying around somewhere on the other side of the world. And then all of a sudden, where do they all go? Because they're not around anymore. That's because the density changed. And the Earth dropped down to a third density level. And concurrently, when you look to the Golden Age, we were up in a fifth density. So we were up with all the benevolent beings, these, you know, ancient, bright, brilliant, shining beings that were so benevolent. They're still up there in 5D or 6D or 7D, but we've made that descension. we are, in some ways, we are the fallen angels, so to speak, quote unquote, although not every human soul has been on 5D. There are many souls that are here on the planet that have only known Kali Yugas. And that's all that they've known. They haven't known anything elsewhere. But we've also gotten that almost a third of the people on this planet have had lives on other planets, have had lives in golden ages, and in ages of much higher vibrational frequency. Now, these tend to be your beings that are awake and catch on, and they've gotten this whole thing all the whole time. They've understood their whole lives that this is an illusion, that what we're seeing is not the real picture. Now, these are what we would call the star seeds, the light workers, the more ancient souls, and they're here to help. And most of you, for that fact, are probably star seeds light workers as well. So you know about all this. But yes, it's all about density. It's all about vibration and frequency. These are the mysteries that Tesla said. If you really want to understand how the universe works, think in those terms: energy, frequency, vibration. And here we see, we're talking about those dates for men. We have a place in California declaring itself a constitutional republic. And yesterday we were talking about the formation of the Florida Guard. And of course, we've also been talking about states like Texas, and all this opposition, which is eventually, as Cynthia has gotten, it's not going to be even so much necessarily states breaking away. There'll even be counties breaking away, towns breaking away from the system as the system crumbles.
Right. Everybody's going to have their own opinion. People are going to be coming together in smaller communities, and they're going to be taking their power back, which is going to kind of make things break up in a much grander sense, so that people can get together and kind of make their own small little communities, probably right there inside of little towns and cities and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were just talking to a family member that's in California. Hey, Elena.
Hi, Elena.
And talking about maybe going to Florida now, or maybe Texas. Somewhere that's maybe a little bit redder, so to speak, because the writing's on the wall, but also the possibility to even stay there, but go into an area where there are people that are awake and ready to kind of do their own thing, to maybe declare their own little republic like Oroville, and break away from the big structure, because it is going to crumble. It's crumbling around them already. And again, that's why they're trying to hold it all together. And where they're able to hold it all together, you feel it. And where it's crumbling away faster, the people feel it as well, but on the different end of the spectrum. Scientists find 200,000-year-old remains of Denisovans, so we have some more DNA from Denisovans, and it'll be interesting to see what they publish as far as that goes. And the Denisovans, as they describe here, a sister population to the Neanderthals, were only identified 10 years ago, and they are in many people. Their DNA still is with many of us. And this is the thing: you could have beings from somewhere else, totally somewhere else, come and show up at Earth. And if they're the right type of humanoid, you might be able to have babies. Mm-hmm. Just that simple, because life abounds. And again, when we look to the Hindu holy books, we see hundreds of thousands of different humanoid species. Humanoid species are common. And there's so many other species too that might look a little crazy, but are very intelligent. They have the digits with their hands to be able to manipulate things, to construct things, and very, very high levels of society. And just to show how sick our society is, here I remember there was a guy that did this with McDonald's. This guy did it with KFC. Nothing but KFC for an entire month. And yes, it almost killed him. Literally almost killed him. And this guy is a health fanatic, and he's got his own channel. And so, he went from 75 kilos, his weight, to, 82.6 kilos in 4 weeks, basically. And also had to go to the hospital. It literally transformed him in not a good way.
Mm-mm.
You know, so when you go into the fast foods, and many people say, I can't afford to eat healthy. I can't afford to eat the organic stuff. It's just too expensive. Well, you know, really, your health is that important. It really is that important. And, you know, I will just simply buy less and get the stuff that at least is labeled organic. So hopefully it's better than the stuff that's not. I mean, I can notice when, you know, if you eat something that's non-organic, like if you go out to eat or something, and you know, I mean, I know right away. Do you guys know right away? You just feel it. There's that inflammatory response when you're eating something that your body doesn't really want to take in. Many times it's much better to eat half of what you do eat, as long as it's not going to be loaded with pesticides and toxins. It's you know, it's not even a slow walk
Mm-mm.
to the graveyard when you're eating fast food.
No, it's very painful.
It's horrible. It's horrible for you. And we've been warned by the, you know, the guides that there's much more in that fast food than you might be bargaining for. You might be shocked to know some of the things that are in there. I mean, absolutely shocked. And then we see this out of Scientific American. Humans are doomed to go extinct. Yeah. They're talking about the end of Homo sapiens. Well, I think that if we don't want this to happen, then what has to really change? I don't think there's anything that could change our heading down that trajectory quicker than eliminating the mindset of what we see as the leadership of this planet. Bye bye. 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 Hasta luego.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. You know, you guys have failed miserably. There's no way you possibly could fail this bad if your intentions were so good.
You know, think about that. Sit with that for a little bit and understand that this is the world we live in. And if their intentions were good, they have plenty of money to make it so that everybody could be comfortable. Plenty. But they're not into that. They're into control.
Yes, that's the bottom line. As you see a lot of smug looking faces. I mean, smug is the word I would use for O's face right there. Very smug. Okay, so how many carbon credits? I don't think they need 100 grams of chicken. Let's limit them to 80. Yeah, let's limit them to 2-minute showers. Oh, by the way, you know, fire up the yacht, and you know, we need a little more caviar over here with some Dom Perignon. Exactly. You know, so this is what has to change. The leadership on the planet has to change, and it will. And it's crumbling around them. So we could accelerate that by doing things like sharing this video and sharing other videos like this and speaking up and sharing what we know with each other. Because, you know, that's how we're going to get out from under this. It's only a matter of time, but better sooner than later.
Absolutely.
So as always, guys, God bless and namaste.
Namaste.